Hello, and welcome back to another live Pioneer game. This is John. This is my partner Jay. And Jay, tell me what are we looking at today?
So it looks like they're going right into it. And on the right, we have Jack playing Mono Blue Spirit down a snow island to begin with, and Dave on the left playing Amalia combo, beginning it with a case of the Uneaten Feast.
It's a Casey on Eaton Feast is an interesting card. I kind of get it with the Amalia combo. It's a non-creature card that gains life, which is quite important in regards to kicking off the Amalia combo.
Yeah, it dodges removal, which is a plus, but then it also dodges Coco, which is a pretty big minus.
Yeah. So what we're seeing like new card doing potentially something in this game, and Jack doing the classic flash in spirit and then attack with Curious Obsession play. Some things just never change.
Although, ooh, and then a Guy's Light Snare on the Voice of Resurgence. Wow, that is a huge tempo play.
It's almost as if Spirit's going first and having the ideal opener is what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, Guy's Light Snare, 1 mana for a mana leak. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and that consistent draw one. It's going to be interesting how Dave sort of maneuvers around this. Now we see the one of the combo pieces here, and Jack did not counter it, so it might be suggesting that there isn't really much going on with the hand. Maybe more spirits rather than spells or interactions. Oh, I do see actually a few islands.
Yeah, I see a few lands and then a rattle chains, and spirits can deal damage, but not as fast as you need to. I mean, they're getting really flooded. Is that 4 lands? At least one of them is a faceless haven, but it's still very rough. And no interaction here, which means if Dave has Amalia, he's pretty much won the game.
He kind of just got it on the spot. But the thing is, Jack's kept a lot of his hand, and okay. So it's not Amalia.
Derna, I believe. And so it's whenever you gain life, your opponent loses 1 life, which with Amalia basically kills your opponent. So if Dave has Amalia here, it's an instant win. But instead it's a Wildgrowth Walker.
Okay. Kind of securing the combo a little bit, but Dave's really looking for that Amalia right now. But unbeknownst to him,
Dave will have a lot of time, to be honest, because he's gaining a little bit of life each turn. There's not that much damage on the other side. Oh, and here we see Dave accidentally throwing his Wildgrowth Walker away into a Faceless Haven.
It's a very much a questionable attack by Dave here.
It is very much a Dave did not read the cards.
So, to be fair though, Faceless Haven from this position kind of looks like a snow full art island, I guess. I'm trying to help you out here, Dave.
There is Supreme Phantom, pretty good, getting a little bit more damage through. Opponent down to 9 during card date. Ooh, I think that's a Brazen Borrower. Now that is one of the better draws because that can break up the combo.
Yeah, so he could actually respond to the life gain enchantment, which is very big here, because then I don't believe Dave has another way of gaining life otherwise in this position.
Yeah, so if Jack bounces the case, then Amalia will enter. There'll be no life gain, and Dave would have to have another creature in hand or something else to gain life to be able to do the combo. So yeah, I think you're right. I think bouncing the case is the best idea, because if you bounce Wildgrowth Walker or Amalia, Dave can just play them again.
It seems, though, that Jack's decided to bounce the Wildgrowth in response. So Amalia does trigger here, because she did enter. Dave's sort of talking out what's happening.
Yeah, so the life gain trigger happens, Amalia explores. Probably going to keep the Quarter Cooling on top, or maybe wants to rally the ranks. But surely Dave can now just play Wildgrowth Walker, the life gain triggers, and then Jack gets drained by 20 plus like 8.
Yeah. So I believe I believe Dave's probably explained to him how he's just won the game in that turn.
Yeah, in fairness, this is a fairly new deck, and it's not the kind that people bring to FNMs that much. It's quite a finicky combo deck,
Mm,
that's a little bit dirtily. And people see things like mid-range or Phoenix a lot more than this. So it might be Jack's first time playing against this, and that also might be why he potentially misplayed by not bouncing the Case of the Forgotten Feast, uneaten
yeah,
feast.
yeah. Because otherwise, Jack did have was very much on the driver's seat in that game. A lot of damage in the air, potentially could have drawn more answers. But yeah, no, Dave. Congratulations to Dave winning against what I thought was insurmountable odds for the Amalia deck. But
Yeah, I mean,
and
I think Jack got very unlucky there. Jack got quite mana flooded, and it's very hard to win from that position. I think Jack really, if Jack had another counter or two,
mm,
he would have taken that game. He just didn't
yeah,
have the counters, and I think Jack is hasn't played this deck enough, and so didn't see the line of bouncing the case that you did so expertly, John.
well, I've it's not as if I've seen old emo Dave play this deck to death at one point, but it's it is interesting. So the mono blue strategy here. So their only interaction is bounce as removal. So what Jack really wants to do is keep counters open for Amalia or Wildgrowth Walker, whichever is more relevant, and maybe just out tempo the Amalia deck. Now we have seen before in the channel another mono blue deck was able to deal with this Amalia combo deck by just kind of pacing it. I believe
Yeah.
Spirits are a lot better equipped in sort of developing a much bigger board because there isn't really much removal that I saw in game one.
So I saw from the sideboard two Fading Hope and two Lofty Denial coming in. So like you said,
Mm.
bounce and counters. It looks like they got rid of some Rattle Chains or maybe Shacklegeist. Again, Shacklegeist not very good in this game. It's kind of
Yeah.
pseudo removal in other games, but the combo doesn't care if Amalia is tapped or untapped.
Mm.
I
And
think the protection spells are also not good in this matchup as Dave doesn't play any removal.
no, not that we're aware of, but we could see potentially a what's that spirit? The white one. Conclave?
Oh, Skyclave Apparition.
Yeah, Skyclave Apparition could
Yeah,
be a card that we see come in here to deal with the spirits.
potentially. I've got a question for you. Do you think Jack should have countered the Voice of Resurgence last game, or do you think Jack should have advanced his game plan and then countered Amalia or the Wildgrowth Walker?
It's a bit of a catch-22. So because spirits kind of want to play during their opponent's turn with a lot of flash threats, a lot of instant speed interaction. Voice of Resurgence kind of forces spirits to play sorcery speed to not give it so much advantage. I don't think it was necessarily a bad move because let's again going back to your point earlier, Jack was mana flooded. Had he had more interaction, that play would have been absolutely reasonable in that position. But just because of how the game went,
Yeah,
I think he would have been worse off if he did encounter it. I think that was still the best possible play he could have made that turn.
I think at the time, yes, but in hindsight, I believe Jack only would have cast, I guess, a counter spell, and then
Mm.
used the Brazen Borrower bounce. And so that's only twice that Voice of Resurgence would have gotten the trigger and created a token. So there wouldn't have been that much pressure, and Jack would have hopefully been able to deal with the combo a little bit more efficiently.
I mean, keep in mind every time Dave would have created a creature out of that, he would be gaining life.
That
So I
is true.
mean, in a race situation, I think Dave would have won that. So it is one of the things. Like I think Jack countering Voice Resurgence was the right move. It was just again unfortunate, but we are seeing a hand with a lot less lands, a lot more action from Jack.
Yeah, so we see a lot of action. Only one land, so hopefully they draw into another land. Here we see a Gilded Goose from Dave turn one. So they really wanted to draw another land there because they wanted to play a land and then go Supreme Phantom swing for 3.
Yeah. At the moment, Jack does have another spirit he can play. Oh, and deciding to flash it in before damage.
Okay, so deciding to play the Spectral Sailor probably because he doesn't have enough lands to make Ascendant Spirit big, and he needs the flyers to be able to get in damage. Although there is a Gilded Goose that is quite an effective blocker against a 1/1 flyer.
Yeah, and another mana generator and a life gain source for Dave in this position. I mean, if Jack doesn't draw another land soon, this could very easily run away from him. And there he is. But
Yep.
what are your options in this position?
I think you have to push damage through. And so Supreme Phantom, swing for 5 is pretty good. The Spectral Sailor is like a dud card if you don't pump it up because the Goose can just block it. And, you are trying to race. Dave can win this turn. He's got all the pieces. Oh, and there we go.
Oh, and he doesn't instantly win, but he does gain a lot of life this turn.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Some decks can beat 70 life. I don't think Mono Blue Spirits can.
Yeah, so Dave should be taking 1 for the Mana Confluence to start with. Come on, Dave.
Take 1 before gaining 17.
Yeah, come on, Dave. Before the math's wrong.
So yeah, I feel for Jack here. I like playing the Supreme Phantom there, but maybe Jack should have just played an Ascendant Spirit and kept up a Fading Hope, maybe drawn into some counters next turn. I think really we've seen why Amalia combo has kind of killed off a lot of the aggressive decks in the format. You no longer see, spirits or mono white humans or anything like that, because if you tap out on your turn and you've not made them, discard Amalia or something, they're just going to win.
Yeah. And sort of, they're playing it out. I think they're discussing again what's going on here. We know that the eventual board state would be Dave gains a lot of life, and then Amalia blows up the board, leaving an empty board with just Amalia and a lot of life for Dave. Now, it's not necessarily impossible. This combo just means that Dave now has a lot of life in conjunction with a massive creature, but we do know there's a Fading Hope in hand.
Ooh, but there's a return to ranks that'll probably be played next turn, which will just bring so many creatures back. Now, I do have an interesting question for you. We did see Shore Up, and they took Shore Up out. Shore Up plus Fading Hope, if they had both of them here and left both lands open, that would have won them the game. But do you think it's worth keeping that open or trying to go for that? And by win the game, sorry, I mean you pump Amalia to 21 so the trigger doesn't happen. She doesn't blow up the board, and the infinite combo continues happening. Dave is forced to mill himself out, and then you're able to bounce Amalia and stop the combo. And Dave will win by milling himself to death. So Dave will lose.
I guess it would depend, because you are kind of banking on the top deck not being a land at that point, right? Let's say you did do that move, and Dave explores, and it was a land.
No, sorry. No, Dave is forced to mill every single one of his cards.
Oh.
Yeah, so the way the combo works is if Amalia gets over 20 power by any point, the trigger doesn't happen. Amalia does not wipe the board. And so Dave is forced. The only game action he can take is to mill himself out and then continuously make those game actions forever, the explores. But you are allowed to interact with it once Dave has milled his entire deck and Fading Hope the Amalia.
I mean, Dave doesn't necessarily have to mill with Explore, though.
No, you must. In the infinite combo, you must. Because really? Amalia will mill forever. It will explore forever. They came out with a rule change that said you must. Oh. It was before the last RCQ.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So I think people may have seen that Simon Nielsen got a few draws by plussing plus one-ing with a pump spell on the opponents of Amalia. But if he had a Reckless Rage wouldn't do it. But if he had some sort of removal as well, he could have been able to, win those games that he drew.
Well, congratulations to Old Emo Dave for winning that game. And yeah, pretty interesting discussion about what may or may not have happened. But, like we said, could have been Jack's first time ever playing against the deck. unfamiliar matchup. Spirits, I don't think they were entirely out of it. I think there were definitely cases where they could have done, where Spirits could have come back, especially in game one. But I guess it's the way the cards were dealt.
Yep. Dave's definitely going to cut off all this last bit.